Welcome back, my friends. You're tuning into Menopause Taylor. That's me, teaching you how to manage your menopause your way. I've given you quite a few tutorials lately that have you looking at menopause in a completely different way than you ever have before. And that's good. You've probably lived your entire life with blinders on about menopause. And if that's the case, join the club. I've never met a single woman who has her facts straight about menopause, unless she happens to be a gynecologist. And that's precisely why I make these videos for you. You deserve to know the facts, but instead, all you've ever heard is misconceptions. So most of your reactions stem from fear. And even if you do have some facts, you usually don't have the whole story. So when you're shocked by something I teach you, it's because you've never heard the whole story before. In last week's tutorial, I presented the upside down misconceptions about estrogen. And today, I'm going to present the upside down misconceptions about progesterone. If you've ever had any preference or prohibition against progesterone, this is the video for you. And even if you've been indifferent about progesterone, you should watch this video. Okay, let's get started. Upside down misconception number 1. Progesterone is the female hormone. Wrong! Estrogen is the female hormone. Progesterone is the baby hormone. The only reason you have progesterone is to support a pregnancy. The word progesterone literally means hormone in support of pregnancy. So progesterone isn't there for you, it's for the baby. Do you remember the fairy tale of the 3 bears? Well, actually, it's Goldilocks and the 3 bears. But, here are the 3 bears, and here's Goldilocks. But we don't care about Goldilocks. We're not going to worry about her today. We just care about these 3 bears. And I have a house for the 3 bears. This house shows you everything that was in the 3 bears' house. And you recall there was Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear. And remember, each bear had his own bed, like you see up here, his own chair, like you see down there, and they even had their own porridge. Well, the reason I'm showing you this is because the 3 hormones are kind of like the 3 bears. There's one hormone for each member of the family. So testosterone is Papa's hormone. Estrogen is Mama's hormone. And progesterone is the baby's hormone. So don't think of estrogen and progesterone as interchangeable. And don't assume that you can accomplish with progesterone what you can accomplish with estrogen. You can alleviate your symptoms of post-menopause with estrogen, but not progesterone. And you can prevent the long-term diseases associated with menopause with estrogen, but not with progesterone. Upside down misconception number 2. Because progesterone is the chameleon hormone, you can use it for every aspect of your menopause, and it will convert itself into estrogen and testosterone as necessary. Not quite. It's true that progesterone is the chameleon hormone. It's the most versatile of the 3 sex hormones. And it's true that it can convert into estrogen and testosterone, but it does so in an inconsistent, unpredictable, and variable manner. And because because it's so inconsistent, unpredictable, and variable, you can't be sure as to its overall effects. If you try to use progesterone for all your menopausal woes, you won't know what to expect. But these chameleon properties are the very reason that the alternative and complementary community promotes progesterone for absolutely everything. They market progesterone products for all your hormonal problems, and they make a lot of money when you buy progesterone for everything. Upside down misconception number 3. Wild yams contain progesterone. Wrong! Wild yams contain estrogen. You see, this misconception stems from the fact that you can find wild yam products galore that are marketed as progesterone creams, gels, tablets, you name it. Let's see, here I have wild yam capsules, I have a wild yam gel, I have a wild yam cream. And I found all of these on the store shelves with the progesterone products. This cream even says wild yam progesterone on the label. So most women think wild yams contain progesterone. They don't. Remember, herbal and botanical products do not have to follow any regulatory standards. So the research that guarantees quality and consistency for pharmaceuticals is replaced by advertising and marketing when it comes to botanicals and herbs. So don't assume that your botanical and herbal products will do what they say they'll do, or even contain the ingredients they list. Just know that there are big differences between botanicals and herbals and pharmaceuticals. And then buyer beware. Upside down misconception number 4. Bioidentical progesterone is superior to synthetic progesterone. Now this one is kind of tricky. It depends. You see, sometimes a misconception is a misconception because it's just too general. And this is one of those times. So here are the specifics. It all depends on which part of your body you're addressing. So bioidentical progesterone is better for your heart and for your breast. It prevents heart attacks and breast cancer better than synthetic progesterone. But synthetic progesterone is better for your uterus because it prevents uterine cancer better than bioidentical progesterone does. So if you put that in context for why you're taking progesterone in the first place, the only reason to take progesterone is to prevent uterine cancer. So knowing the whole story rather than just a piece of it is critical. Be careful when you hear that something is good or bad or better or worse. Always get the full explanation in the details. Upside down misconception number 5. You can use progesterone instead of estrogen for post-menopausal hormone therapy. Wrong! Remember the 3 bears? If estrogen is your hormone, what makes you think you can use baby bear's hormone to replace your estrogen? Estrogen functions to make you feminine. It fuels all your bodily systems. And when you lose estrogen at post-menopause, your body goes through estrogen withdrawal. Your body's in shock over the loss of something essential. So estrogen replacement is what it needs at postmenopause. And if you cannot or will not use estrogen, you need to find a way to compensate for the loss of estrogen. But progesterone cannot compensate for estrogen. Progesterone belongs to the baby. And when I say you can use something else to compensate for estrogen, I'm not talking about just one thing. You'll probably have to do a dozen things to compensate for each of estrogen's benefits. For example, if you need to compensate for estrogen in preventing osteoporosis, you might have to take a SERM, do weight-bearing and resistance exercise regularly, take calcium, prevent falls, practice balance exercises, stop smoking, limit your caffeine, limit your alcohol, eat soy foods, eliminate soft drinks, take vitamin D, and take magnesium. All those things. Of course, you might have a list like that for each and everything that estrogen does. So no, you cannot use progesterone instead of estrogen for postmenopause. Not even close. Upside down misconception number 6. Progesterone carries no risks. Wrong. Somehow, women have been led to believe that estrogen has nothing but risks and progesterone has no risks at all. That's not true. You know that nothing is without risk, right? It's just that the risks are trade-offs. In the case of progesterone, some of its risks are the same as those for estrogen. Some of them are completely different. And in some cases, progesterone augments the risks of estrogen. Do not ever assume that something is completely risk-free. That would be a fantasy. Managing your menopause is about weighing the various risks as they pertain to you. That's why I always say no to women are alike and that you shouldn't care what anyone else is doing for her menopause. Upside down misconception number 7. At postmenopause, estrogen dominance is the problem and progesterone is the solution. Wrong on 2 counts. First, estrogen dominance is what happens during perimenopause, not postmenopause. Here is where you have estrogen dominance, and that is perimenopause. That's when your progesterone has already dropped, but your estrogen hasn't. So your progesterone is low and your estrogen is high. And it is true that progesterone can be the solution during perimenopause. But once you become postmenopausal, here, both your estrogen and your progesterone disappear. See, they're way down here. So how can you be estrogen dominant if you have no estrogen? And remember, you're mama bear. Estrogen is your hormone. You're supposed to have a lot of estrogen. Progesterone is for the baby. So this whole estrogen dominance phenomenon has turned women completely upside down in their thinking. Progesterone may be the solution for those 2 to 10 years of perimenopause. But after that, estrogen is the solution. Upside down misconception number 8. Progesterone can prevent a heart attack. Now this one is a bit tricky. Once again, someone has you believing that progesterone can do what estrogen can do. Estrogen can prevent a heart attack, Okay? Estrogen can prevent a heart attack. Do you recall that I told you that 1 out of 2 women die of a heart attack? How often have you heard of a woman having a heart attack before she's post-menopausal? You probably haven't, and that's because it's rare before post-menopause. But as soon as women become post-menopausal, bam! They start dropping dead of heart attacks, and that's because of the loss of estrogen. So you might wonder, what's progesterone's role? Well, studies show that women have more heart attacks when they take estrogen and progesterone together than when they take estrogen alone. Of course, you know that you can only take estrogen alone if you don't have your uterus. So you see, it's all about trade-offs. You wouldn't want to forfeit progesterone in order to lower your risk of a heart attack at the expense of increasing your risk of uterine cancer. Because there are many other things you can do to prevent a heart attack, but there aren't a bunch of other things you can do to prevent uterine cancer. It's all about balancing. You want to weigh all the benefits against all the risks, and you want to do what's most beneficial and least risky. Upside down misconception number 9. Progesterone can prevent osteoporosis. Wrong. This is another misconception that arises from extrapolation. Go back to the 3 bears and apply the lesson you learned earlier. Hormones belong to humans just like the beds, chairs, and porridge belonged to the 3 bears. Estrogen is for you, Mama Bear. Progesterone is for the baby. What do babies and osteoporosis have in common? Nothing. Progesterone has no role in osteoporosis. Osteoporosis begins when you lose your estrogen, when your estrogen disappears, period. It is directly related to estrogen. Estrogen loss causes bone loss. It's that straightforward. Don't turn it upside down. The most significant bone loss occurs in the first 5 years of your postmenopause. You lose 2% of your bone per year in those first 5 years. That's because your bones fall apart without estrogen, literally. So don't extrapolate. Bone loss is all about estrogen loss. Progesterone cannot prevent it or fix it. And upside down misconception number 10. Progesterone can prevent Alzheimer's disease. Wrong. I'm beginning to feel and sound like a broken record. Substitute the word estrogen for the word progesterone in that sentence, and then you'll have it right side up. Estrogen prevents Alzheimer's disease. There is a direct, unquestionable relationship between estrogen loss and Alzheimer's disease. When you lose your estrogen, your risk for Alzheimer's skyrockets. And Alzheimer's is a shrinking of your brain. Progesterone has nothing to do with it. So I asked you again, what do babies and Alzheimer's have in common? Nothing. Babies have the highest learning capacity on earth. You can teach a baby every single language in the world and they can't even read yet. Alzheimer's is just the opposite of that. It involves loss of brain tissue, actual shrinkage of the brain, and inability to remember or learn. Okay, so there are your 10 most upside down misconceptions about progesterone. I hope my explanations really made a few light bulbs go off in your head. I try to use explanations, analogies, props, or examples that make it easy for you to understand and remember the facts. And I hope you even laugh a little bit. I know that some of the things I teach you make you practically fall off your chair. And please don't fall off your chair. Just hold on, rewind, and think logically. Everything should really make sense. Okay, so with that, I will bid you goodbye. Don't forget to come back in a week. I'll continue to give you the whole story on all things menopause. In the meantime, follow me and subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you subscribe, you just put in your email address and the videos come to you every week, and you don't have to go searching for them. I love having you here. Ask questions, make comments. I'll see you in a week. Bye. Baby Bear says bye.